Hello, everyone, and welcome back to your daily English dose. Today, we're diving deep into a topic that affects every single aspect of our lives, yet we rarely talk about it openly: the psychology of money. Have you ever wondered why we sometimes make irrational financial decisions, even when we know better? Or why some people seem to effortlessly build wealth, while others struggle, regardless of their income? The profound answer often lies not just in economic theories or market trends, but deeply within our own minds and ingrained behavioral patterns. In this video, we'll embark on a fascinating journey to explore the hidden forces that influence our financial choices. We'll uncover the most common psychological biases that subtly steer our decisions, learn science-backed strategies to cultivate healthier, more intentional money habits, and ultimately, understand the true, often surprising relationship between money and genuine happiness. Get ready to gain powerful insights that can profoundly transform your financial life, improve your decision-making, and of course, boost your English listening and reading skills along the way. Let's begin this insightful exploration. First, let's pull back the curtain on some of the most fascinating and pervasive psychological biases that often lead us to make seemingly irrational financial decisions. These are not signs of intellectual weakness or a lack of understanding. Rather, they are common, ingrained mental shortcuts or heuristics that our brains employ to process information quickly. While often helpful in simple situations, these shortcuts can sometimes lead us significantly astray when it comes to the complex and emotionally charged world of money. Understanding these biases is not just an academic exercise. It is the crucial first step to recognizing their subtle influence in ourselves and empowering us to make more deliberate, rational, and ultimately beneficial choices with our finances. One of the most powerful and widely studied biases in behavioral economics is loss aversion. At its core, loss aversion describes our profound tendency to prefer avoiding a loss over acquiring an equivalent gain. Psychologically, the pain we experience from losing something is often about twice as powerful as the pleasure we feel from gaining the exact same thing. Let's imagine a classic scenario to illustrate this compelling bias. You're offered a simple coin toss. If it lands on heads, you win $100. If it lands on tails, you lose $100. Despite the seemingly equal 50-50 odds, the vast majority of people would instinctively refuse this bet. The intense fear and discomfort of potentially losing $100 simply outweighs the excitement or potential upside of winning the same amount. This fundamental human aversion to financial setbacks profoundly impacts our everyday financial behavior, often without us realizing it. In the realm of personal finance and investing, loss aversion manifests in several common and often detrimental ways. It can lead us to irrationally hold on to losing investments for far too long, clinging to the often unfounded hope that they will eventually recover, just to avoid the painful psychological act of realizing the loss. We might tell ourselves, "I can't sell now. I'd be taking a loss." Even when all objective indicators, market analysis, and fundamental data suggest that cutting our losses and reallocating our capital is the demonstrably smarter long-term move. This emotional reluctance to accept a loss can paradoxically lead to even greater financial declines as we chase lost causes. Conversely, loss aversion might make us overly cautious and excessively risk-averse in new ventures, causing us to miss out on potentially lucrative investment opportunities or entrepreneurial ventures. The mere possibility of a small financial setback or loss feels too uncomfortable to tolerate, even if the potential for significant gain is much higher. This inherent aversion to loss can trap us in suboptimal financial positions, preventing us from making logical, forward-thinking decisions that would ultimately benefit us more. Recognizing this powerful and widespread bias is the crucial key to overcoming its subtle, yet persistent influence on our financial behavior and moving towards more rational and effective financial management. Building upon the subtle influences of our subconscious preferences, another prevalent bias that significantly impacts our financial lives is the Taman 2 status quo bias. This bias describes our strong, often unconscious inclination to prefer things to remain exactly as they are, even when a change might clearly be beneficial, more efficient, or even absolutely necessary for our long-term well-being. We tend to stick with our current choices simply because altering them requires mental effort, active decision-making, and often involves a perceived, albeit sometimes minor, risk of venturing into the unknown. Think about your everyday routines. It almost always feels easier and safer to maintain the familiar path than to embark on a new, unfamiliar one, even if the new path promises greater rewards and efficiency. This inherent human inertia is a powerful force. In practical financial terms, the status quo bias can manifest in numerous ways, costing us money and opportunities. For instance, people might remain loyal to a suboptimal bank account that charges high fees or offers negligible interest rates on their savings, simply because the perceived effort of researching, filling out paperwork, and opening a new account feels like too much hassle. They might keep an outdated, less comprehensive, or more expensive insurance policy, continue with an underperforming investment advisor who is yielding poor returns, or stick to an inefficient energy provider for years, even when a simple switch could potentially save them hundreds or even thousands of dollars annually. The sheer inertia created by the status quo bias can be a formidable barrier, preventing us from actively optimizing our financial situation, adapting to new market opportunities, or embracing innovative financial products and services that could significantly improve our long-term wealth and well-being. Overcoming it requires a conscious and deliberate effort to challenge our default settings and actively seek out and evaluate potentially better alternatives, rather than passively accepting the current state. A third extremely common and often detrimental psychological pitfall is the sunk cost fallacy. This bias occurs when we continue to invest valuable resources, be it time, money, or effort, into something simply because we have already invested a significant amount in it, even if it's glaringly obvious that the endeavor is clearly not yielding positive results, is no longer aligned with our goals, or is fundamentally not a viable path forward. The key point to remember is that these past costs, or sunk costs, are already gone and cannot be recovered, regardless of what we do now. Yet, our psychology often makes us feel powerfully compelled to justify that past investment by continuing to pour in more resources, hoping to salvage the situation. Imagine a relatable scenario. You bought an expensive concert ticket weeks ago, but on the day of the concert, you wake up feeling terribly sick with a fever. The truly rational choice would be to stay home, rest, and prioritize your health and recovery. However, the sunk cost fallacy might make you feel powerfully compelled to go anyway, thinking, I already paid a lot for this ticket, so I absolutely have to go, even if I'm miserable and risk getting worse. The acute pain of the wasted money or effort in the past outweighs the rational decision to prioritize future well-being and avoid further loss. In the realm of personal finance and business, this fallacy can manifest disastrously. It might lead us to pour more and more money into a perpetually failing business venture, cling to a rapidly declining stock even as its fundamentals deteriorate, or persist with a poorly performing project just because we've already lost so much. Our misguided hope is often that more investment will somehow allow us to break even or miraculously recoup our initial losses, a strategy often referred to as throwing good money after bad. It's crucial to fundamentally internalize that past costs are exactly that, past. They are gone, irrecoverable, and should not influence rational future decisions. The smart financial choice focuses solely on the potential future benefits and costs, entirely independent of what has already been spent. Recognizing and actively detaching from the powerful emotional pull of sunk costs is absolutely vital for making forward-looking, truly rational financial decisions that serve our best interests. Continuing our insightful exploration of financial biases, let's now examine two more subtle, yet profoundly powerful influences that unconsciously shape our decisions and perceptions about money, often leading us to make choices we later regret. First, there's the framing effect. This pervasive bias describes how our decisions, judgments, and even our preferences can be significantly influenced by the way information is presented or framed, even if the underlying objective facts and logical implications remain exactly the same. The specific language, emphasis, and context used to describe a choice can subtly, yet powerfully, nudge us towards different outcomes without us even realizing the manipulation. For example, a food product prominently advertised as 90% fat-free sounds much more appealing and intuitively healthier than the exact same product clearly labeled contains 10% fat, even though both statements convey identical nutritional information. This simple rephrasing impacts our perception. Similarly, a medical procedure presented with a 90% success rate often feels inherently safer and more reassuring than one described as having a 10% failure rate, despite being mathematically equivalent in terms of risk. The emotional context of the words chosen plays a huge role. In numerous financial contexts, the framing effect is rampant and actively exploited by marketers, salespeople, and even news media. A shrewd financial advisor might present an investment's past performance by exclusively highlighting its peak gains or most successful periods, rather than presenting a balanced view that includes its average returns or periods of decline. This selective framing creates a more attractive, but potentially misleading picture. A marketing campaign for a new credit card might strategically emphasize attractive rewards and benefits, like cash back or travel points, painting a rosy picture, while subtly downplaying crucial information such as high interest rates, annual fees, or complex terms and conditions buried in fine print. Understanding the framing effect is absolutely crucial because it empowers us to critically evaluate all types of financial advice, marketing messages, and even news reports. Instead of being unconsciously swayed by how information is dressed up, we can train ourselves to strip away the emotional or persuasive framing and focus solely on the objective facts, the raw data, and the logical implications, leading to more rational, less manipulated, and ultimately better financial decisions that truly serve our long-term interests. Finally, we encounter the insidious yet remarkably common anchoring bias. This bias describes our deeply ingrained tendency to rely excessively or anchor ourselves to the very first piece of information offered the initial anchor, when subsequently making judgments, estimations, or decisions. Once an initial value, a reference point, or a specific number is established, our subsequent estimates, evaluations, and decisions tend to gravitate disproportionately around it, even if that anchor is completely arbitrary, irrelevant, or patently inaccurate. Imagine you're shopping for a new car. If the car dealer first shows you a very expensive, top-of-the-line luxury model at an exorbitant price point, a subsequent car that is slightly less expensive but still significantly overpriced for its true value, might then seem like a remarkably good deal by comparison. The initial, inflated high price serves as a powerful anchor, making all subsequent prices appear more reasonable and acceptable to our minds. In personal finance and investment, anchoring bias can lead to various costly pitfalls. An initial asking price for a house, even if it's inflated well above market value, can become a strong anchor in a buyer's mind, unconsciously influencing subsequent negotiation and potentially leading you to overpay, simply because you're negotiating downwards from a high anchor. Or, past peak stock prices can serve as powerful anchors, making us emotionally unwilling to sell a stock even if its current fundamentals have severely deteriorated, because we're anchored to the high. So, if simply accumulating more money doesn't always translate into a direct, proportional increase in happiness once basic needs are comfortably met, what does contribute to more lasting happiness when it comes to our financial choices? Research consistently and powerfully shows that how you spend your money often matters far more for your long-term satisfaction and happiness than the sheer amount of money you actually have. The nature, purpose, and impact of your expenditures hold the key to more profound and enduring contentment. One of the most powerful and often cited findings in this area is that spending money on experiences rather than purely material possessions tends to bring far more lasting happiness. Think deeply about the joy derived from a memorable trip you took, attending a captivating concert or a live sports event, taking an enriching cooking class, learning a new skill, or simply sharing a special, enjoyable meal and genuine laughter with loved ones. These experiences, whether grand or small, create vivid and lasting memories, foster deeper social connections, and often contribute significantly to your personal growth, skill development, and sense of identity. The anticipation of an experience, the experience itself, and the positive reminiscing afterward all contribute to a sustained flow of positive emotions and greater well-being. In stark contrast, the pleasure derived from buying purely material goods, like a new gadget, a piece of clothing, or a luxury item, often fades relatively quickly. The initial excitement is typically fleeting, often leading to a phenomenon known as the treadmill, where we constantly desire the next new thing, chasing a happiness that always remains just out of reach because we adapt quickly to new possessions. Furthermore, a growing and compelling body of research highlights the profound and consistent positive impact of spending money on others or donating to causes you genuinely care about. This phenomenon is often referred to as pro-social spending. The act of giving, whether it's buying a friend a thoughtful gift, contributing to a meaningful charity, volunteering your time, or simply helping someone in need financially, has been shown to consistently increase the giver's own happiness and overall well-being. This is because giving can create a powerful and deeply satisfying sense of purpose, strengthen valuable social bonds, and evoke profound feelings of gratitude, compassion, and contentment. It actively shifts our focus from our own immediate desires and needs to the well-being and benefit of others, which can be an incredibly rewarding and fulfilling experience, creating a positive feedback loop of happiness and strengthened relationships for both the giver and the receiver, fostering a more connected and compassionate society, higher price it once traded at, stubbornly hoping it will return to that previous level. This pervasive bias can prevent us from accurately perceiving the current true value or future potential of an asset. Recognizing anchoring bias allows us to actively question the relevance and validity of initial numbers, diligently conduct independent research based on current market conditions and intrinsic value, and focus purely on objective assessments, rather than being subconsciously swayed by arbitrary starting points. By developing an acute awareness of these fascinating and powerful behavioral biases, we equip ourselves with the essential mental tools to make more conscious, informed, and ultimately more effective financial decisions, freeing ourselves from the invisible chains of our own psychology and optimizing our financial well-being. Now that we've uncovered some of the common psychological traps that can subtly derail our financial aspirations and well-being, let's pivot to a more empowering and proactive topic: building healthy and sustainable financial habits. Just like any other positive behavior we cultivate, whether it's daily exercise, mindful eating, consistent learning, or effective communication, good money habits can be intentionally built and consistently practiced over time. These disciplined routines are not about restriction or deprivation. Rather, they lead to significant and compounding long-term benefits, fostering a greater sense of financial security, peace of mind, and overall well-being. The key insight here is that it's less about relying on sheer finite willpower, which often falters, and more about strategically designing effective systems and automated routines that make the healthy financial choice the easy, natural, and default choice. One of the most fundamental yet profoundly impactful habits in personal finance is budgeting and diligently tracking your spending. Many people find the very idea of budgeting intimidating, overwhelming, or overly restrictive, associating it with cutting out all enjoyment and spontaneity. However, it doesn't have to be complicated, painful, or burdensome. The primary and most crucial goal of budgeting is simply to gain complete awareness and know exactly where every single dollar of your hard-earned money is going. You can start with incredibly simple tools: a basic spreadsheet, a user-friendly budgeting app on your phone, or even just a basic notebook and pen to meticulously record your income and all your expenditures. Begin by committing to tracking every dollar you spend for just 1 month. This initial act of awareness alone can be incredibly powerful, often revealing surprising patterns of spending you weren't even conscious of, such as how much you spend on seemingly small, daily purchases. When you clearly see exactly how much you spend on daily coffee runs, recurring subscriptions you rarely use, or dining out versus cooking at home, it immediately becomes much easier to identify specific areas where you can strategically cut back, reallocate funds towards your financial goals, like saving for a major purchase, investing for retirement, or aggressively paying down high-interest debt. This habit transforms abstract money worries into concrete, manageable data, giving you unprecedented transparency and a crucial sense of control over your finances. Next, cultivating the habit of paying yourself first is an absolute cornerstone of effective and sustainable financial management. This powerful principle means that as soon as you receive your paycheck or any form of income, a predetermined portion of it automatically and immediately goes into your designated savings or investment account before you pay any other bills, expenses, or spend on anything else. Automating this process is the absolute key to its success and longevity. Set up an automatic transfer from your checking account to your designated savings or investment account to occur on the very day you get paid. This removes the need for active decision-making each time. Even if it's a seemingly small amount to start, like $50 or $100 each month, consistently saved and invested, it can grow exponentially over time due to the remarkable and often underestimated power of compound interest. This habit completely removes the need for daily willpower, active decision-making, or remembering to save, making the saving process effortless, consistent, and highly effective. It fundamentally flips the traditional, often ineffective script from saving what's left over after I've spent everything to consciously spending what's left after you've prioritized and paid yourself first, making saving your default. This intentional shift in priorities is transformative for long-term wealth building. So, if simply accumulating more money doesn't always translate into a direct, proportional increase in happiness once basic needs are comfortably met, what does contribute to more lasting happiness when it comes to our financial choices? Research consistently and powerfully shows that how you spend your money often matters far more for your long-term satisfaction and happiness than the sheer amount of money you actually have. The nature, purpose, and impact of your expenditures hold the key to more profound and enduring contentment. One of the most powerful and often cited findings in this area is that spending money on experiences rather than purely material possessions tends to bring far more lasting happiness. Think deeply about the joy derived from a memorable trip you took, attending a captivating concert or a live sports event, taking an enriching cooking class, learning a new skill, or simply sharing a special, enjoyable meal and genuine laughter with loved ones. These experiences, whether grand or small, create vivid and lasting memories, foster deeper social connections, and often contribute significantly to your personal growth, skill development, and sense of identity. The anticipation of an experience, the experience itself, and the positive reminiscing afterward all contribute to a sustained flow of positive emotions and greater well-being. In stark contrast, the pleasure derived from buying purely material goods, like a new gadget, a piece of clothing, or a luxury item, often fades relatively quickly. The initial excitement is typically fleeting, often leading to a phenomenon known as the to-quote treadmill, where we constantly desire the next new thing, chasing a happiness that always remains just out of reach because we adapt quickly to new possessions. Furthermore, a growing and compelling body of research highlights the profound and consistent positive impact of spending money on others or donating to causes you genuinely care about. This phenomenon is often referred to as pro-social spending. The act of giving, whether it's buying a friend a thoughtful gift, contributing to a meaningful charity, volunteering your time, or simply helping someone in need financially, has been shown to consistently increase the giver's own happiness and overall well-being. This is because giving can create a powerful and deeply satisfying sense of purpose, strengthen valuable social bonds, and evoke profound feelings of gratitude, compassion, and contentment. It actively shifts our focus from our own immediate desires and needs to the well-being and benefit of others, which can be an incredibly rewarding and fulfilling experience, creating a positive feedback loop of happiness and strengthened relationships for both the giver and the receiver, fostering a more connected and compassionate society. Finally, integrating a mindset of mindful spending and actively pursuing financial independence, rather than just the endless accumulation of vast wealth, can significantly contribute to your long-term well-being and genuine happiness. Mindful spending means being deeply intentional and conscious about where your money goes. It involves actively aligning your expenditures with your core values, your long-term goals, and what truly brings you lasting fulfillment, rather than spending thoughtlessly, impulsively, or merely to keep up with perceived societal pressures or expectations. It's about making deliberate, value-driven choices that truly serve your deeper purpose and aspirations in life. Financial independence, on the other hand, isn't necessarily about being incredibly rich or having millions in the bank. It's fundamentally about having enough financial freedom and security to make conscious choices about how you spend your most precious and finite resource, your time, and how you ultimately live your life. This might involve saving enough to take a career break, pursue a long-held passion, travel the world extensively, or retire early, without being solely driven by the immediate, constant need to earn money. It's about effectively buying your freedom and personal autonomy, allowing you to design a life that truly reflects your values and dreams, independent of external financial pressures. In conclusion, money is undeniably a powerful and essential tool in modern life, and understanding its underlying psychology is the fundamental key to using it wisely, effectively, and to your greatest advantage. By first recognizing our inherent behavioral biases that can subtly lead us astray, then intentionally building healthy, sustainable, and automated financial habits, and finally, by thoughtfully focusing on how we spend our money, prioritizing experiences, investing in others, and aligning with our values, we can move far beyond simply accumulating wealth. We can truly enrich our lives in profound ways, finding genuine happiness, deep purpose, and lasting contentment. It's not just about having more money. It's about cultivating a better, more conscious, and ultimately more empowering relationship with money itself, strategically using it as a powerful resource to create a life filled with purpose, meaningful experiences, and profound happiness and well-being. And remember, learning about fascinating and practical topics like the psychology of money is also a fantastic way to expand your vocabulary, improve your listening comprehension, and significantly boost your English skills. Financial literacy and English proficiency are both incredibly valuable and intertwined assets in today's interconnected global world, empowering you in countless ways in your career and personal life, enabling you to make more informed decisions and seize new opportunities. So there you have it, the fascinating psychology of money. We hope this video has provided you with valuable insights and practical strategies to transform your financial life. If you found this video helpful and enjoyed this journey into financial psychology, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss your daily English lessons and more fascinating topics. We'd love to hear your questions or thoughts in the comments below. What's one small financial habit you're trying to build or break? Or what's your biggest money-related question about money? Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.